Thanks, Griffin. I am joined by Matt Cohen to talk about the week that was for the IU women's swimming and diving team down in Austin, Texas. And Matt, thank you, A, for joining us, but B, for bringing us some of this great weather. You brought a little bit of the warmth with you.
Hey, it finally got to Bloomington, right?
Yeah, finally. It took us about 3 weeks longer than planned, but it's here now. So Lily King, she's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, she's a pretty good swimmer. She's all she's done is won an Olympic gold medal. She won 2. She holds a world record, not bad either. But in Austin, she became the winningest breaststroker in NCAA history with 8 NCAA titles. She won the 100 breaststroke title with a time of 55.73 seconds, which is an American record, which is crazy in the sense that in Bloomington at the Big Ten Championships about a month ago, she became the first woman to ever swim the 100 breaststroke in less than 56 seconds. Now she's done it twice in a month. I mean, it's the things that Lily King does just amaze you. She's one of the best just individual athletes I've ever gotten to watch in my life.
Now they got another Olympian on the team, Jessica Parado. How did she go out? Did she go out in style? Did she finish her IU career in style?
So maybe not as much in style as Lily King did. She finished 3rd in the platform dive. She wasn't in the finals for any of the other diving events. She had won her second dive. She missed the landing a little bit on that one. That hurt her in the overall standings. She had a chance to get second had she not missed that dive. A girl from Texas, I'm blanking on her name, unfortunately, but she won the national championship in the platform dive. No one was touching her. She was spectacular. I'd say Parado generally went out in style. Maybe not. It was her worst of her finishes at the NCAAs, which her worst finish being 3rd is pretty impressive. So I used to say generally in style, maybe not the best style, but I mean, she's one of the best divers in the history of this program. And while they may not miss her like they missed Lily King just because of the name that Lily King is, Parado's sorely going to be missed in this program as well.
There were a handful of performances, handful of good performances from Indiana down there. Get us up to speed. Who else performed well? Who made headlines?
So here's a name you're going to have to watch a lot going forward. Noelle Peplowski. She's a freshman. She swam in the 200 breaststroke championship final. She was the first freshman to do that since Lily King. So, there's definitely some kind of sharing some footsteps. I don't want to say someone's following the footsteps of Lily King because that's really hard to do. But also there was senior Bailey Anderson. She's in her first year with Indiana after transferring from Denver. She was 6th in the 400 IM. She had her best overall NCAA championships of her career, being top 6 in both of her events, the 200 and the 400 IM.
Now, you kind of teased it there.
Yeah.
But Lily King left some pretty big shoes to fill, one might say, for this program going forward. Who can we look to fill those shoes?
So in one of my IDS stories, actually, I mentioned that you can't fill her shoes. No one else wears Crocs on the awards podium. And that's true, and I meant that, kind of in a joking way, but you can't fill Lily King's shoes. It's impossible. There's very few. I mean, she is literally the winningest breaststroker in the history of the NCAA. So finding someone that can fill that shoes, it's not going to happen right off the bat. You have Peplowski, who has been a really impressive freshman swimmer. She's been competing with King. I wouldn't say she's ever come close to beating King, but she's given her some fights throughout the year. They have a girl next year who will be a freshman next year. She's currently a senior at Yorktown High School named Emily Weiss. She owns a national record in the 100 breaststroke for high school. She swam faster than King ever did in high school. She's already actually swam in some national finals heats with King at the Phillips 666 U.S. Nationals last summer. So she's in that category. Again, it's hard to say she's going to be King, but if there's anyone that's going to at all have the chance to get to that stature, I'd say probably Weiss, and Peplowski is certainly in that mix as well.
Matt, thanks again for bringing some of that warm southern weather, and thanks again for joining us. Hopefully it stays. I'm not crossing my fingers, but hopefully it stays. Back to you guys at the desk. Thanks, Stephen. I am joined right here to my right by Matt Cohen. He has his finger on the pulse of really everything IU athletics related. But right now we're going to talk about the IU men's swimming and diving team. Matt, thank you for joining me. Was this past weekend at Nationals a good weekend for Indiana? Was it a success?
So first, I feel like I'm here a lot these days. But I feel like generally this weekend, I'd honestly argue it wasn't a success, actually. And I say that because IU, for the second straight year, finished 3rd at Nationals. And that's great. I mean, as a top 3 finish, I mean, it's something that you're all striving for. You bring a trophy back to Bloomington. But here's the thing. This team finished 3rd last year. The team was ranked 2nd in the country. The expectations were higher than 3rd. This was a team that could have won a national championship. It had the talent to do so. In a lot of the preliminary events, it didn't hit its expectations. A lot of the swimmers swam under their times that they had qualified with coming in. And based on that, I don't think it's a success. This was a team that I think should have been, at minimum, second place.
So team-wise, maybe not a success, but let's dive individually. Vinny Lanza, Ian Finnerty, two names that most people recognize inside and outside of the program. Did they meet expectations this weekend?
Yeah, they absolutely did. Vinny Lanza finally won a national championship this weekend, winning the 100-yard butterfly. He became the first Hoosier to win that event since Mark Spitz. That is certainly a name people have heard before. Ian Finnerty, again, is a national champion. He won the 100-yard breaststroke for the second time in his Indiana career. He is still the only man to ever swim the 100-yard breaststroke in fewer than 50 seconds. It was not a record time for him in Austin this week, but it was the second fastest time in American history.
Who else stood out? I know I dropped two of the biggest, most popular names, most successful names on this team, but who else stood out for Indiana?
I think the surprise of the whole weekend was Andrew Capobianco. He was a diver, and coming in, James Conner is probably the favorite that of the IU diving program. He had won basically every event all season except for a couple, and the only person that actually had beat Conner all season actually was Capobianco. James Conner came in, was one of the favorites in both the 1 meter and the 3 meter dive, and Conner didn't win either of those. But Capobianco came out and won the 3 meter diving national championship, scoring over a 100 on his second dive. That was completely unexpected. I don't think there was anyone that thought Capobianco would, he might not have even been projected to be actually in the finals for the 3 meter dive. He ended up winning the national championship in that event. So I think that is probably the easiest surprise of the whole thing.
Now, this program has standards and expectations to succeed, compete for national championships year in, year out. You mentioned Conner. He's leaving, Finnerty is leaving, Lanza is leaving. Who or how will they step up? Whoever's coming back, who will replace them? Who will step up, and how will they replace just the big shoes that these guys are leaving behind?
Capobianco probably is the clear one, given that he is the only national champion returning to this team. You lose people also like Zach Apple, who's only here for 1 year, but was a key piece in a lot of the freestyle events. Zane Backus, who's a freshman, was in the final with Ian Finnerty in the breaststroke events. He, I believe, was a top 6 finisher in the 100 breaststroke. Someone that I'm certainly keeping an eye on going forward. Also, the Hoosiers have a recruit named Brendan Burns coming in. He's rated as the #1 recruit in the country for this year's class. He's from Pennsylvania. He swims the butterfly. He kind of figures to be the Vinny Lanza replacement. Similar to the women's team, you can't really replace easily guys like Lanza and guys like Ian Finnerty. You can try. There's going to be some talent. There's a lot of talent in this program. There's a reason why I say third place was a disappointment. It's not just the top swimmers doing everything. There's a very deep program. I think they maybe will be able to recover a little bit better than the women do, just because of how much depth is in the men's program. But it's going to be similar to the women, a young team going forward. But I think there are more veteran leaders on the men's side.
Matt Cohen, the man. Thank you, sir. Back to you guys at the desk.